Yes, everyone, welcome back, or really just welcoming myself back to the stream here. These two did excellently in my absence. It sounds like, at least that's what Dave was telling me. It looks like some of the chat were saying that. I don't know what happened there. My just internet just went kaput. Really, just all of a sudden, just decided to go rogue and maybe protest against me with the overusage of it that I might be giving it. But we'll try to assemble back together where we might have left off, or just sort of continue on with the questions that I already had prepared for these guys. Thank you to these two, Colin and Jack, for being such professionals. So definitely would look to have them on again in case any more disasters occur, but hopefully not, at least for a few more weeks,
Super
especially.
sub.
Yeah, major super sub, double super sub. But let's continue where I was supposed to be transitioning towards, which was actually about the players and the personnel. Thank you, everybody, for if you're still looking for the stream, if you wonder what happened, if you're following back us over here, really do appreciate it. But we're going to go off here, Jack, to Xavi Simons. He's been under some pressure. He was going into that game under some pressure, but maybe should have gotten, you would say, more than one assist on that evening. Do you think he was able to express himself more in this game because it was against a European outfit, maybe instead of a Premier League one?
I think it's sort of mixed bag. I thought tactically, I thought he was used very differently. The obvious thing is out against Chelsea, the first half he played out in the left, whereas on Tuesday night he was in the centre, but he was actually drifting out to the right, which I was quite surprised by. And they kind of let Odebear and Udogie hold down the left hand side. But yeah, I thought obviously the opposition helps if you're not playing against a great opposition who also aren't physical. I think that's naturally going to help him. But at the same time, I do think just he was used very differently. He was picking up those pockets of space between the lines rather than maybe running shifts on the touchline. I just think it's much more suited to his game. And yeah, I don't know if we're covering back over ground here. I don't know if we were cut off for this, but yeah, he had runners in behind him as well. So I think that helps a lot, especially for the first goal. I thought in particular, you look at him, he picks the ball up, takes a couple of touches, lovely ball in behind to Brennan Johnson. The rest is history. Lovely, great finish in fairness to Johnson. You can say all you like about him, but if you want anyone going one-on-one with the keeper, it's Brennan Johnson in our team. So I think credit to him for that. And I just thought, I thought he just picked up really nice pockets of space. Against Chelsea, he picked up the ball. He was isolated. He was having to beat men. I don't think that's his game. Maybe he has quick feet, but he's not like Kudus where he's going to go past players for fun. That's just not really his game. He's able to do it at times, but I think when he gets crowded out, then he really struggles. But at the same time, I do expect him to adjust to the physicality of the league. It's about getting used to that intensity, getting used to that contact. And as we've seen with Wirtz is getting more comfortable in the league as well. So I think those two guys have a lot of parallels. So I think maybe Wirtz is a month ahead of him. And he's starting to click a bit for Liverpool. So maybe we'll see the best of Xavi, hopefully before Christmas, but it might be after Christmas before he's really comfortable. And I see the Modric jersey behind you. I think he was another man that maybe wasn't physical enough for the league. And I think he had an all right career. I think what did he win, a Ballon d'Or, was it? So yeah. I think he didn't do too badly himself. So I think just sometimes these guys just take a while to click. But I think Xavi's too good of a player to flop, I think, without something fairly catastrophic happening either with us or with him.
That's kind of the conundrum that I've been having, really, is that there's been a lot of people that, for example, the Twitter tacticos, as I like to call them, Colin, they've been making a lot of I'm referring to a few accounts that I think have actually been pretty generous towards him and have maybe been looking to blame Thomas Frank at all costs. They blamed Bentancur, they blamed Palhinha for Xavi Simons' struggles. I just don't think he's necessarily adapted, maybe, in the manner that he would like to. And I think he's just generally, I don't think you have to really overthink it. I just don't think he's played that well. He's had poor first touches, bad decision making, seems a bit indecisive, but this was a lot better from him. And it might have been Colin or you, Jack, that did say in the previous stream that this was one of his best games, really, in a Spurs shirt. So what do you put it down to, Colin? Is he just maybe getting used to life in the Tottenham Hotspur shirt, or has he been let down by Thomas Frank's tactics for why he's maybe struggled?
Yeah, definitely a quality player in there. And I'm not going to take this as my own words. I'm pretty sure Jack said this either in the in the green room on the previous stream or when we were manfully carrying on the stream after it died. But I think what's let him down mostly, other than the anxiety that he had within him, poor first touches when he first joins the team is just anxiety and wanting to perform. That starts to ebb away as you become comfortable. The biggest thing that's let him down, and this is definitely credit to you, Jack, I'm really sure of it, is the functionality of the team. He hasn't dropped into a fully functioning winning machine where he's coming in just to do his job. He hasn't been deployed in the same space. He hasn't come into a team that's functioning particularly well, as we've identified several times before. But I do think what Copenhagen match showed is that he is, very clever, the creator of a devastating ball when given enough time and space. So he just gets that bit more time on the ball in this match compared to where we've been before. He's not getting bullied off the ball by very robust Premier League players. And you can see what he can do. That ball through for Brennan Johnson's goal was just delicious. Perfectly timed, leaves the keeper in no man's land, and the rest is history. But yeah, definitely a player there. I think the more time he spends playing in that kind of the pockets of space that he was afforded by Copenhagen, the better a player we'll see. But I think when the team comes up around him in terms of its functionality, not necessarily in terms of its player quality, I think he'll just get better and better. And he's just definitely going to have to learn. He just pulls just a little bit too much out of the ball in the Premier League. He doesn't have the same level of time. He'll learn that so that he stops getting flattened every time he has the ball too long and his face in the grass. God love him. He's made a sterner stuff than me, because he takes an absolute hammering every match, in my opinion. But he'll get there. I'm still have a lot of faith in him. And I actually didn't know too much about him before he got to Spurs, but just from what I've seen, a lot of heart, a lot of technical ability, and he should come good, or at least fingers crossed he will do.
Yeah, I mean, he was brilliant at Leipzig. Like, he was arguably, in my opinion, at Leipzig, their best player, and was one of the best players, I think, in the Bundesliga during his time. He was just kind of maybe in the shadow of the Musialas and the Wirtzes of the world, really, but he was exceptional for them. And then at PSV, he had a great stint there. I think it was the Euros, maybe recently, or
Yeah,
at least one of.
the goal against England, he actually shoved Declan Rice off the ball, and not many players do that. So I think, and just a point, sorry, actually, Colin, a very good point about his heart. I think looking statistically, he against Villa, I think he made 4 tackles. Everton, I think he made 3, and Chelsea he made 4. There's nothing better than a player who is really good, but when they're not playing well, they're still putting a shift in. And I really like that from him. I think there's plenty of fellas, especially in that position you're talking about, he's maybe described as a luxury player, but I think 4 tackles or 3 tackles a game isn't something you get from a luxury player. So I think if he's still giving you something when he's not playing well, imagine what he's giving you when he is playing well.
It's a fair point, actually, Colin. When you say that, maybe even if he's had struggle in certain games, he's not been a lazy guy out of possession.
No, he's listen, what we're dealing with here, when you're talking about the Premier League, Champions League, you're talking about the top 1, probably even smaller, top 0.5% of players in the world. So they're all going to be fit. They're all going to be technically excellent. They're all going to have every physical attribute you can want. It's all about up here. And what I see in him is he's got the heart. Hopefully the rest all comes. He's a young man, new country, new league, all the rest of it that gets played out over every podcast and every report. But at the end of the day, when the eye test is he's disappointed to get taken off, which to me says a lot. And I just see him dusting himself down and picking himself back up. So when it works for him, because he's got the technical ability, or at least we all feel that he does have the technical ability, he should be an amazing player. At least I really, really hope if he gets to Modric levels, yes, but maybe not. But for the moment, yeah, give him the time, give him the space, get that team to come up around him, and hopefully we can start to see the benefits of what he can bring to a team, and he starts playing like he did in his previous teams, and become even more effective than he is now.
Yeah, there's a rant that I was kind of basing this question off of on Twitter that I saw from someone that was saying it's down to Bentancur, Palhinha, and Thomas Frank for his struggles because he's not receiving enough passes into the final third. They were saying he's in like the bottom 15th, 20th percentile in terms of receiving passes in the final third. I think that's a valid argument to make, that maybe he's not getting as much service as he would like in certain areas. But with my own eyes, though, there have been plenty of times when I've almost felt like, geez, get the ball away from this guy, because he's just a walking giveaway. Like, he's just so many times just had the ball bounce off of him, had the touch of a truck, or had times where he did get turned, but then just got easily bullied off of the ball, overhit passes, has just had sloppy moments. So I just think sometimes it goes both ways, where yes, it'd be nice if he received the ball on a regular basis, but also it's football at the end of the day. You do have to, especially as a number 10, be the more tidy player in possession. You do have to be the guy that is reliable when you play it to him under pressure. And I just don't think he was doing that maybe up until this game, really.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, actually, on the sort of touch in the final third, that he had a lot of loose ones. And I think on Tuesday he received a lot more, but his first few touches were really positive. Right. And I think I have the stats here in front of me. I think out of our team, the touches in the final third, Sarr was top with 24. Xavi was second with 22, and Xavi came off in the 58th minute, I think. So I think if he played the full game, you're talking about him being way out in front. So I think that's really positive. I'd be really worried if he's getting 30 touches a game in the final third and he's producing nothing. You go, well, why are they passing it to him then at all? I think the more the ball he gets, I think the more likely he is to make something happen. So I think that's positive. And it shows confidence from him that he's still showing for the ball, even if he's not too confident. I think they say bravery is where you're scared to do something and you still do it anyway. So I think that he's shown a bit of that anyway, that he still wants to get him the ball, even if he's not playing too well.
And this was the right opponent, I think, for him to get that bit of a confidence booster. And let's hope that he can carry it on to Man United. Another person that's done an expose of a certain Spurs player was Jamie Carragher. He was talking about Joao Palhinha recently, and he was saying that he's not making enough line-breaking passes. In fact, he's one of the worst midfielders in the Premier League this season in terms of that metric, which is why, or at least Jamie Carragher thinks why, clubs weren't after him this summer. To you, Colin, is Joao Palhinha the problem behind Spurs' lack of creativity in games, like Jamie Carragher seems to suggest?
Well, I have to confess I missed that, so I'll have to go back and see. I'm sure, no doubt, Mr. Carragher's erudite expose he irritates me somewhat. But anyway, aside from that, I don't think that's why Palhinha would have been recruited by Spurs for line-breaking passes. I don't think that's what we needed. We have Maddison, Kulusevski, and some creativity in Bentancur and Sarr. What we needed was somebody, as Jack so eloquently put it while we were off air, a shin kicker. So it's easy to say something like that if you've got a fully functioning team like Arsenal or Liverpool or even these Newcastles of this world, where they are working very, very well. Who's going to go after a player like Palhinha if they already have somebody of that ilk, or if their midfield is working? I don't think ours was working particularly well. I think we were very easy to play against, and I think he has come in and done a very, very good job of oh God, it sounds so 1950s, but kind of manning up. You're not afraid to put your head where it hurts, but with intelligence. I don't think he's like a headless chicken in any regard. But yeah, he does have his deficiencies passing forward, certainly not finishing.
No.
He scored one or two absolute crackers. I'd be very proud of myself if I managed to be able to swing my right leg at them the way he does. So I think, having not seen Carragher's expose, I feel that's a harsh criticism. I really, really do. I think he's brought a lot of steel to our midfield. I think I did express in the last one, I was just frustrated that he seems to play Palhinha and Bentancur, who I think kind of cross over. If they were a diagram, they'd almost be on top of each other. But yeah, I don't think he was ever hired. If that's you may as well ask him to be a florist. Is he not delivering the flowers? Well, he's not. He hasn't been hired to deliver flowers. He's been hired to put steel into our midfield, which is exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, I think was a narrative kind of from the get-go, Jack. Like when he was first signed, there were a lot of people saying like, "Oh, why'd we go after him? He's not a great passer. He doesn't really offer these line-breaking passes." But when we watch Spurs, he's arguably been like the best player. But then when Jamie
Well,
Carragher came out with his expose, all these people were saying, "See, I told you so. I told you so." You know, if Jamie Carragher agrees with me, I must be right. So, what do you make of this expose?
I'll confess to being one of those people. Now, I must say he's been a lot better than I expected, but at the same time, maybe I think we played differently to how I expected.
Mm.
At the time when we signed him, I was thinking we were probably going to be somewhere between Ange Ball and how we are currently playing. And I just don't think Paulinho was ideal for that. Now, I think obviously he's going to make you better. I think if you pair him up with someone like Adam Wharton, you've a perfect combination of midfielders there. If you pair him with Bentancur, I think if you're dominating possession, you have an issue. So I think I don't think it's his fault, his shortcomings. I think everyone knows exactly what he is. He's consistently unbelievable at winning the ball back. I don't think there's any player in the world who's better at it. But at the same time, I don't disagree with Carragher saying he can see why no top team signed him. The reality is most top teams, they dominate the ball. They don't really need a player in there like that for 75% of games, I would say. You're probably talking Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, probably Chelsea away, maybe not Chelsea at home, and Man United away, maybe not Man United at home. I think you're probably talking his perfect game for that big Champions League game. So against PSG in the Super Cup, it was absolutely brilliant. I think for a specific role, I think he's perfect. And I think actually as an option at centre-back, I thought he was incredible against Newcastle at centre-back. I thought he was one of our best players. And I think there was even a moment where he actually got the ball. I think it was on the halfway line. He was one of the last men back. And he just drove forward with it. And I can't remember who he picked out. I think it was Johnson he picked out with a lovely pass. And it's like, it just takes a bit of pressure off you in the ball playing when you're at centre-back. You're not receiving it on the half turn, which that's just not his game. I think he is what he is, and he's as good as you'll get. But at the same time, you look at someone like Caicedo, who we saw at the weekend, he can do 90% of what Joao Palhinha does off the ball, but he's also a brilliant footballer. So I think maybe if you wanted to be Man City or Arsenal or Liverpool level, like competing for Premier League, Champions League, I think it's very hard to carry someone like that in a lot of games. But I think he's a brilliant player to have in the squad. I think it's maybe the mismatch of profiles we have in our squad, but we have three really young midfielders who are all very promising. Now, Sarr, in fairness, is stepping up and starting to maybe be a bit more of an established player. But I think if we didn't have such a bloated squad with young players, I think Paulinho to come in and play, maybe start 30-40% of Premier League games and maybe do that sort of Højbjerg under Ange role where he comes on last 20 minutes, defending a lead, and he breaks up play. That's absolutely perfect. I think starting games at home to mid-table and lower level Premier League clubs, I just think maybe that's not ideal if we want to go where we're looking to go. So I think there's probably both sides of it, but I can't see Carragher's point. And I thought his Monday Night Football segment, as painful as it was to listen to, I thought he got most stuff spot on, and it was kind of, I nearly felt, as you said, what you say, validated was the word you used, that some people felt validated. I nearly felt validated in some of my own feelings with some of the other stuff he said with the backwards passing. I thought it drives me insane, some of the backwards passing. So I think Carragher's Monday Night Football segments are always interesting at the very least.
Yeah, but he is paid for his opinion, and he has to give one. But I just feel the premise of whatever. Again, having not seen it, so maybe I can stand corrected. I just think it's completely and utterly unfair to label a player as why did other clubs not go in for him?
Yeah,
you shop where you need to shop. Nobody needed a player like him, and we did. So that's why they didn't go in for him. He was playing for bloody Bayern Munich.
Yeah, I think we needed two. I think we needed sort of that really good passer in midfield on top of that. And if you paired the two of them up, an ideal midfield. I think it was just the fact you needed him and one more. I think if we had actually gotten Gibbs White and Maddison doesn't do his ACL, I think you can play a midfield three of those three. And I think that was the plan. Yeah. So maybe it was actually Maddison's ACL meant, we have to get Xavi now, and just to replace Maddison, and then we can't go in for someone else. So I think maybe if Maddison's ACL hadn't happened, you'd be seeing Paulinho with two sort of 8/10s passing the ball forward, because Gibbs White, he gets the ball, takes a touch out of his feet, bang, pass forward. He just wants to play forward all the time. I think that would have been a really nice sort of combination to have. So I think maybe it's just bad luck and maybe poor squad building is maybe why he's catching a bit of flack. But I think for was it 25 million, I think it's very hard for you to say we shouldn't sign him, even if he's not starting most games, to have him as a centre back option. Especially, I'd love to see him in a back three. I think he'd be brilliant for PSG away or something like that.
Yeah,
I think I'd really enjoy seeing him in that, because he's going to put a shift in for the team.
I just I agree with a lot of what you said there, Jack. I just thought it was harsh a bit from Jamie Carragher, because to say that that's the core problem behind Spurs when he's arguably been one of our best players in almost every game, and I think has scored more goals than the majority of our forwards in this team, I would say, well, maybe we should be looking a bit further up the pitch for maybe why Spurs have been struggling in games, because I would say they've had plenty of opportunities to do a lot more when they have had chances in the final third. And I would say that we are a very wasteful team with very raw, almost very, I'd say, wasteful players, like really in the attacking areas. So it just has been maybe my own agenda, but my agenda is more that it seems like a lot of people have been looking to blame stronger areas of Spurs' team than blame the area of the team that I think has been weak for a while now, which has been the attacking options. There's not really anybody in the forward line that I think we have to pick from right now, maybe other than Mohamed Kudus, that gets into the top six sides in terms of their front threes or their attacking options. Whereas in the midfield, in the back line, that's where I think Spurs do boast, actually, their better squad depth and their better quality. But when I see exposés like that of Palhinha, I'm just sort of like, yeah, maybe he has areas he can improve in. Maybe there are areas he's not amazing in, but he does do his job and he does do what's required of him. And if you are, like you said there, in my opinion, I agree, one of the best ball winning midfielders in Europe, really, like surely that goes a long way.
The best, I would say.
Yeah, the best. Like, but that if you excel that much in one area, surely then like that takes you a very large distance. Like that can, make you an exceptional outfit. It's not like we need every player in every position to be perfect in every aspect. As long as they excel in one certain area, that can go such a long way for a team. And I think that's why Palhinha has been so great for us, really. And turnovers are almost, in a way, created chances in themselves. If you turn the ball over in an area that you don't expect a guy to, because he's such a strong tackler, sometimes it doesn't then require, a line breaking, beautiful pass. You already have a transition or a counterattack potentially on just by breaking up play in the manner that he does, in my opinion. But
yeah, so that's a very good point. I think a lot of the time we've won the ball back and it's like panic stations. Oh, what do we do with the ball now? I think that's I think a big problem.
Yeah,
I know how to close this segment out for you, Jack. Lads, it's Carragher.
Yeah. And like Thomas Frank said, I think he was asked about it by someone. I think Thomas Frank said, "Yep, there's a reason why I'm behind the touchline. There's a reason that he's on the TV," which is a nice little jab from our man Thomas. Another person that doesn't get to sit behind the touchline, but we know watches plenty of Spurs, was Alistair Gold. In his most recent video, he claimed that he believes the team has more balance when Brennan Johnson has been starting in the side. Jack, I know you have some strong opinions about Brennan Johnson, so I'm curious what you think of that, because I have heard this opinion from people that this season we've been better when Johnson's been in the team because of this balance that he somewhat brings. Do you agree that we're actually secretly a better team when he's in there?
I don't know what balance he supposedly brings, to be honest. I think he's poor technically. I don't think he works hard off the ball. You want someone going one-on-one to finish, best player we have in the squad, but in terms of balance, I think he nearly unbalances the team. I would argue more than balances the team. I think when you have Kudus and Odebear on the wing, I think we look a much more balanced team, especially when you have Udogie left back overlapping, Power at right back, spraying passes around the place. I think we look a much better team. So I think Johnson's, I'm probably saying the same as I'm saying with Palhinha. He's really good at one thing, which is scoring when the ball comes his way. But I think, I'm not too sold on the idea of him bringing balance to the team. I think it's maybe just because you have Kudus and perhaps the other winger position is up in the air. If you had a Sonny from 2, even 3 years ago, I think you're not talking about Johnson adding balance to the team. You're saying you wouldn't even dream of putting him in.
What about you, Colin? Does Spurs play better secretly when Johnson's in there? Is he the secret formula that maybe we don't take credit for?
Oh yes, he's definitely the secret sauce we've been missing. I like Alistair Gold. I just found that the most bizarre thing. Johnson definitely adds an advantageous dynamic to Spurs when we're a counter-attacking team or we've got a lot of space. And you can see the damage that he does in an Ange Postecoglou team where we turn the ball over, we move it up really, really quickly. When we're playing the Frank way, which we need to see in its totality yet, but it's slower to get up the pitch, which means that Johnson, in my opinion, becomes pretty ineffective. And then he's almost like a passenger, and he's narky, and I think he's always looking for trouble personally. He just looks like he just has that little impish grin all the time trying to wind other players up, which is fine. But then, he does that kind of half-hearted thing, gets himself sent off. But for the leading up to that goal, that's exactly what he does so well. He makes a very well-timed, dynamic run into the area, causes all sorts of chaos, opens up space, and gets his goal. But when you're playing against a compact side where we don't have all that space to fling a ball down in towards him, I think he's largely ineffective. I mean, I can't even remember the last time I've seen him beat a player.
Yeah, he actually beat the Copenhagen fullback, which was the moment I decided they were no good.
Yeah, which is exactly my point. He's not secret sauce. He's not the magic fluff. He's nothing in my opinion, other than an extremely effective back post player when you're playing in a particular way, which is more in the Ange Postecoglou vein of counter-attacking with speed, and he's perfect for that. Which is why we had such an astonishing return from him last season, and this season it's been far less so. So I'm mystified as to why. I hate to argue with Alistair Gold. He's the forgive the pun, the gold standard. But that's an astonishing thing to say. Perhaps he's just seeing something I don't see. But I still. Are you saying that if we played, against Chelsea with Johnson? I don't know. I'm mystified by it. I can't see how he's any sort of answer to our current woes in terms of balance. I agree with Jack 100%. I don't see or understand the balance that he's referring to. And I think
I've agreed with him a lot this season. Actually, Alistair Gold, in previous seasons, I actually didn't. I thought he plenty of times showed way too much praise for players like Harry Winks, Eric Dyer, Oliver Skip, and whatnot. And usually he joins me, Alistair Gold, on my grocery shopping, and there's been a few times where I've been close to dropping something in the middle of the aisle because I've just been so aghast by opinions like that, saying that Johnson brings better balance. I can understand maybe the theory, but what I find funny about that is, for example, Floyd Jarrett saying Johnson does bring better balance because he brings goals. I just don't know if he does it at the clip that would get him into the team, though, because I think it was Jack that mentioned earlier that Odegaard played one of the best passes in the game, that clip ball over the top to Johnson. Johnson, all he needs is to have a touch within 5-6 yards of him. He somehow balloons it 20 yards away from him and can't bring it down. I think Johnson is a finisher of very, I hate to say it, goals that you would in a way expect a player to put away. Like, I know he does it on a regular basis, but he doesn't ever finish goals or opportunities that you're like, wow, damn, that actually did look like a very difficult chance. Even the one that he scored against Copenhagen, the keeper made his mind up for him. All he knew that the keeper needed. Keeper was way out of his depth.
That was a very good finish, in fairness. He could very easily could have found the side netting, or in fairness, Odegaard was actually there to tap it in if it wasn't going in. But he could have very easily just hit that out of play and made a complete mess of it running at that speed. But I think also with Johnson, I think two players he linked up with actually quite well were Kulusevski and Son. I don't think it's any coincidence he looks completely lost without them there. I think a lot of the time, especially in Ange's first season, where you'd start with either one of him or Kulusevski, and he'd finish the game with Kulusevski at 10 and Johnson on the wing. I think Johnson actually did some of his best work. I think he got 10 league assists that season. I don't even know if he got any last season, but that was sort of Kulusevski playing that little slip ball into him, even if there's very little space. I think he's really missing that at the moment. And maybe Xavi will be able to play those passes, but I think, and obviously Son, two step overs, shifted onto his left foot, smashed it across the box. He was there. Brennan Johnson, I think 2 goals against Ipswich away last season. I think that was vintage Sonny and Brennan Johnson linking up, and I think maybe he is missing a bit of that. But at the same time, as you say, he missed that chance from Odebear. Odebear hit another cross across the box very early second half. Johnson just, in fairness, he couldn't get his foot to it. The defender did well, but I think he's not ideal the way we're playing at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think he's as lethal a finisher as people say, because if he was, I think he would have put away that Odebear chance, because I thought the moment that ball was played in behind, I'm like, all you need to do is not even a good touch, half a good touch. And then you have, I would argue that was an easier chance than the one he actually put away on the evening. So that's kind of where I come from with him. And even against, I remember Monaco this season, that we created nothing that game, but it was still 0-0. And then at the very end of the game, Pop Matasar lays it off on a plate for him, and he scuffs it into the ground, into the defender. So there are times where, when I think of elite finishers, when I think of clinical finishers, you think of the Hollands and whatnot of the world, where you don't really need to be asked more than once or twice to put something away. Whereas with Johnson, it seems like he is better finisher amongst very poor finishers, in my opinion. I don't think we have anyone in this side that are really that great of finishers. He just happens to be the best one. Would I say he's an elite one? 100% no. Really. Even the chances Kolo Muani had, I think worries me a little bit. Maybe he'll sort of, improve each game he had, but he should have had a brace on the evening, if not a hat trick, really.
Definitely.
He looks promising though. He gives something to the team, even if he doesn't score, which I think if Johnson was scoring 40 a season or 30 a season, you'd maybe go, look, we can carry this guy. He's scoring so many goals, but 15, 20, I think, unless you're a side in the bottom half of the table, I don't think you can carry a player just because they score kind of 10 to 15 league goals a season. I just don't think that's an option if you want to be a top side. Like, you look at Salah sometimes doesn't have the best games, but he scores 25 goals in the league in a season. I think that's the sort of level you have to be at to be maybe carried sometimes through games.
Perhaps what Alistair's trying to point out is, and again, not having seen it, unfortunately, but he doesn't talk about his finishing. He talks about balance. So perhaps he just means that where there's more variety, which we did talk about, that there was more variety, so that rather than a one-trick pony of always pushing it out right to Kudos, that's perhaps what he means. But like, again, would I take Johnson over Kudos? Depends on the match. If it's another Copenhagen, put Johnson in. If it's another match like Chelsea, you're going to need somebody who can take on a winger, take on a defender and beat them, which I don't think Johnson can do. Which is why I was trying to say depends on your opposition and it depends on the style of play.
Yeah, I just maybe I'm a bit of a Grinch here, but I just think that our standard in terms of high quality forwards has just gone so low at Spurs that we just tend to praise some of the absolute basics of the game, really, and then overhype players, really, which I'm trying not to be guilty of. I'd rather overhype the guys who I really truly think are good, which is in our midfield and in our defense, really. Whereas with the forward areas, none of them really impress me on that much of a regular basis, to be honest. But thought we'd maybe finish this one off with some controversy from the evening. We were happy clapping. We were flying. We were 4-0 up. Dane Scarlett came on, had a very bright cameo. He's actually doing quite well, to be honest, in the very little time that he had on the pitch. He earned the team a penalty when we were 4-0 up. Richarlison rushed over, if not sprinted over, to grab the ball to take that penalty. Plenty of fans were very upset, Colin, with Richarlison for not giving that penalty to Dane Scarlett. Did it sour the mood for you a little bit, or was Richie right in taking the penalty and not giving it to Scarlett?
It only soured the mood when he missed it. For me, tough one to answer there. It's for me, he probably should have taken the ball. He's the senior player. I don't know what it would have done for Dane had he scored it. I'm kind of 50-50. I would have been happy for either one of them to take it. I think Richie probably needs the confidence, does he, a bit more at the moment? Dane's going to have plenty of opportunity over the years or the coming years. So perhaps Richie's trying to make his mind up for him. I'm the senior player. He would have that element to him, I'm sure, to broaden his shoulders and just take the ball off a junior player. He should have really followed it up by sticking it in the back of the net. I don't think we're talking about this if he picks it up and sticks it in the back of the net. We might just say, "Oh, that was a bit off color of him. Perhaps he should have given it." But because the fact that he missed it means that everybody's going to sit there and go, "You should have given it to Dane Scarlett," because he would have scored the damn thing. But all in all, for me, it's something and nothing. I mean, a penalty isn't going to make or break Dane Scarlett's career or Richarlison's. It's just a shame that we missed it. Ultimately, a 5-0 win would have been even nicer again than a 4-0 win. So whoever took it, the responsibility was to stick it in the back of the net, and ultimately he failed. So it looks worse.
Madison gave him a penalty last season, right? When
That's right,
Spurs,
Jack was saying.
So should
Like
he have done the same thing?
Favor. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's two different situations. Dane Scarlett is a player trying to make his way through the team. Yeah, if you wanted to give him a bit of a leg up and say, here you go, pal, give that a lash. Whereas I think Madison handing it to Richie was really a confidence thing. The last time, I don't know enough about Dane Scarlett. Is he suffering with any confidence? He didn't look like it when he came on.
No.
And he certainly would take a lot of heart from the fact that he was able to win his team a penalty in the first place. So I think they're two different situations.
Okay.
I've got no big problem with it, to be honest. Richie's the senior player. My only problem was he didn't score it.
Were you upset by it, Jack? I, to be honest, was quite pissed off at the time when he because I thought Richie was playing terribly and Scarlett was playing well. So I was like, give it to Scarlett, please. Like, he's done all that. And it's not like Richie did anything to help earn that penalty either.
Yeah, I was more disappointed than annoyed, to be honest. I think it would have shown a lot of character from Richarlison. I think everyone knows he's like, he wears his heart in his sleeve. He's one of those guys you want to see him succeed. But I think at the same time, his stock would have gone up if he had let Scarlett take it rather than him taking it and missing. He could well find that Thomas Frank turns to his bench at the weekend and goes, Dane, you're up. And Richarlison's taking the ball off him, and maybe actually by missing the penalty has possibly put Dane ahead of him in the pecking order. Now, I still think if you're in need of a goal, he's going to stick Richarlison on, but you don't know how how Dane Scarlett's looking in training. I think he's always someone like in this calendar year particularly. I think he had those few games in January when we were down to the bare bones of our squad. I think was it Elfsborg came on, got a goal and an assist, and pretty much dragged us through that game. That was one of those games you look back on it and you go, well, that avoided us having to play a playoff. If we played a playoff, you never know. We might not win the Europa League. Maybe you pick up a few injuries in that, or even lose the playoff. So I think Dane Scarlett certainly played his part in that Europa League success, and he got to go on and celebrate in his kit with all the other players. So I was happy for him. And if he never achieves anything at this club, I think he'll still have that memory forever. But I think maybe it could have kickstarted something for him if Richarlison had let him take that penalty. And we saw a certain other Tottenham striker who maybe had a few unsuccessful loans at other clubs come into the team at 2021 and just seemingly out of nowhere just came into the team and never left it then until he left for 100 million to Bayern Munich, and now might be winning a Ballon d'Or. So maybe we're not that good, but we could be looking at a guy that we go in 5 years' time. Jeez, I can't believe we let this guy go. He could have been the one. I think he's someone that will have a good career somewhere else, whether that's in the Premier League, maybe outside the Premier League, or even the Championship. I think he's going to have a career where you go, well, he might not have been world class, but he was a good player and he scored goals wherever he went. I think he's got that natural finisher about him, like that goal he scored against Shakhtar in pre-season a couple of years ago. He turned and knew exactly where the goal is. And guys that they know where the goal is without looking at them, that shows real sort of quality and striker's instinct.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. Maybe I'm just being nitpicky, but if Richarlison really wanted it, I think first he should have helped up Dane Scarlett because he was on the ground, and Richarlison nearly ran into him as he was, sprinting towards the ball. It's like maybe you help him up, walk towards the ball, maybe sort of suggest and give him a word or two saying, listen, if you don't mind, I kind of feel like I need to take this for whatever reason. But the fact that he just so quickly brushed past his own teammate to then pick up the ball and then to miss it just seemed, like you said, just didn't help his stock whatsoever. Maybe with the fan base, who knows? Perhaps with the manager as well. But yeah, not a good way, I think. It's almost like as if the final minutes were all about Richarlison when it really should have just been all about the Spurs and the great performance.
Yeah, I think as Colin said, if he'd scored it, we probably wouldn't be talking about this. You probably would have had where Scarlett goes up to him and gives him a little high five and the rub on the head, and he goes, "Oh, thanks for winning that for me." But instead, we're talking about Richarlison being selfish rather than a nice moment where two guys maybe acknowledge each other. But even I saw a video. I think it was from Chris Cowlin who put out that all the players were out on the pitch after the game clapping the fans except Richarlison. I don't know how true that is. I read a tweet with the video this morning. I didn't see Richarlison in the video. Maybe he was clapping fans at the other side of the stadium. You know, you never know where these guys' families are sitting. That maybe they are over there. But Richarlison is the sort of guy he'd be very annoyed about his own performance and just storm down the tunnel. Van de Ven and Spence-esque walking past everyone, even after a 4-0 win. If there's anyone in the squad, yeah, exactly. If there's anyone going down the tunnel after a 4-0 loss because they're annoyed about themselves, it's Richarlison.
Yeah.
You never are left doubting what he's thinking based on his face.
Yeah, he's a walking book.
Yeah,
I really hope that's not true, because really then his stock is definitely not going to be too great at the minute. It's plummeting. I really hope that's not true, because it felt annoying that the last final minutes were almost about him when it really just didn't need to be, and it could have been avoided. Maybe it always was going to happen. Maybe it was always going to be an awkward situation. But that was the last of my questions, guys. Thank you for being such heavy lifters and, heavy lifting while I was literally gone, but also with these questions and without a Dave tonight. So really appreciate you guys. So give you one last final say or anything that might have been on your mind. I'll go to you, Colin, first. Anything left to say?
Well, the last time we were on, we were talking about how the Newcastle, Chelsea and Copenhagen matches were almost all must-win games. I have to say, being a Spurs fan in that intervening time has been an absolute emotional roller coaster. That Newcastle match I thought was good. It was a shame that we lost it. A couple of mistakes, especially that refereeing one. Don't even get me started on that. I was chewing on the remote control over that one. The Chelsea match, the less we say about that, the better. But the emotional scars will take some time to heal. Copenhagen and Mickey van de Ven certainly helped. Yeah. Over to you, Jack.
Yeah, I think, obviously United's a big game. I said it's a must not lose and a must actually play well. I think if you draw and play well, I'll be disappointed, but I'll go, look, at least we're building to something. I want to see the green shoots is, I think, the word of the day. That's all I want to see. I just want to see where we're going. I want to see a plan. And then we have the big one after the international break. So don't send us in on a downer. I think if we beat them lot in the derby after the international break, I could not care less about that Chelsea game. I want to beat them so badly. It's been so long since we beat them, and everything gets forgotten about. It's one of those things. Form goes out the window, and Thomas Frank will be a hero if we beat them. So I think that is the must-win game. Or
at home form, most importantly, home form.
Yeah. I think So I think, look, we just need to build a bit of momentum. There's two games a week. You'd be surprised how quickly things can snowball, for better or for worse. So I think just something to work on, and please God, no more injuries, and no injuries over the break.
Please. Yeah. Well, very well said. The only thing I can add is can he once again break that international break curse, because he did it against Leeds. If he were able to do it against Man United before the North London derby, that would be a huge feat that can't remember the last manager would have been able to do, successfully win 2 matches before the international break. Maybe even Pochettino goes that far back. Who knows? But appreciate you two. Thanks for being on with me. Thanks for everybody in the chat that joined us as well. Sorry about the mishap. They did an excellent job without me. And hopefully it doesn't have to happen again anytime soon. But we will see you all tomorrow for any of the preview stuff that Dave and I put out for you guys. And then, of course, on Saturday for the watch long and all that good business. But see you next time, everybody. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.